India is a dangerous country for women. In case after case, women have been raped, abused, and murdered. Only rarely are the perpetrators brought to justice. So women have decided to take drastic action.
उसकी जम के पिटाई की, वो सूच से और डंडे से भी मारा, 2-3 डंडियाँ मिल गई और बहुत पटक के वहाँ मारा और फिर मेला मैदान में जाके छोड़ाई.
Some have armed themselves against violent men. And they are pushing for changes in the law that has so often let them down.
It is right of the women of India to equally participate in the political process.
The new government of Narendra Modi has vowed zero tolerance for violence against women. But how committed is his government? A minister in Modi's current government dismissed rapes as accidents. Another minister, also from Modi's party, said rapes were sometimes right, sometimes wrong. This has enraged women who are taking to the street to protest.
Are we finally going to see real change for women in this country?
ये कान हम पकड़ेंगे, ठीक है? जब जैसे पकड़ेंगे छोड़ो, जैसे पकड़ेंगे ये इसको अगर ये पकड़ा तो तुरंत छोड़ देगा, क्योंकि इसको बहुत पेन होगी. ये मेरा स्टेप, ताकि ये उठेगा तो ये.
India's women are angry at police inaction and the apathetic attitudes of government. So they've decided to take matters into their own hands. In a slum village on the outskirts of Lucknow, 26-year-old teacher Usha Vishwakarma is teaching her Red Brigade gang how to take down male assailants.
ऐसे लगना है कि मैं बहुत डर रही हूँ. ये हाथ मेरा यूं रहेगा, ये बिल्कुल ये.
This is a country where horrific acts of violence are committed against women every day. And the police usually respond by saying things like, boys will be boys. But these women are tired of the excuses and the inaction and have decided to take things into their own hands.
पुलिस प्रशासन मतलब उन्होंने शब्द का भाड़ में जाए, वो हमें मतलब नहीं. आज हम खुद ही सेल्फ डिफेंस अपनी करेंगे.
Men who harass women receive a warning from the Red Brigade. If they don't stop their antics, a thrashing follows. One molester experienced their wrath firsthand.
इसको पहले पकड़ा और सारे भाग गए. उसकी जम के पिटाई की, वो सूच से और डंडे से भी मारा, 2-3 डंडियाँ मिल गई और बहुत पटक के वहाँ मारा और फिर मेला मैदान में जाके छोड़ाई. अगर ये पकड़ लिया तो मैं क्या करूँगी? पैर तो मार नहीं पाऊँगी, ठीक है? पैर नहीं मार पाऊँगी और कुछ भी नहीं कर पाऊँगी, छुड़ा भी नहीं पाऊँगी, पंच भी नहीं कर पाऊँगी. तो जस्ट ग्रोइंग, फिर एल्बो और फिर.
In India, women are not traditionally expected to fight back. They should be meek and subservient. If they talk openly about sexual abuse, they risk dishonoring their families. But these women have lost patience. Their leader, a former school teacher, broke with tradition after a horrific sexual assault.
11 साल की बच्ची का रेप हुआ, जिस बच्ची को मैं पढ़ाती थी. और वो रेप उसके सगे चाचा ने किया, जो कि 35 वर्ष के थे. और उसके साल भर बाद मेरे साथ ये घटना हुई. मेरे साथ जो पढ़ाता था उसने मेरे ऊपर अटेम्प्ट टू रेप का प्रयास हुआ, जिससे मैं मेंटली डिस्टर्ब 1 साल तक.
The male colleague who attacked Usha denounced her to their colleagues as a bad girl. None of her fellow teachers supported her, and the police didn't register her case. This meant there could be no prosecution. Outraged, 3 years ago, Usha founded Red Brigade with other victims of sexual abuse.
पहले खुद ही डरते थे. कोई कान भी पकड़ लेता तो कांपने लगते थे. इतनी साहस नहीं था कि दूसरे को विरोध करें या फिर अगेंस्ट में जाएं, उसके हिम्मत नहीं थी. तो अब अंदर पावर वो फील होता है कि हम लोग अब कोई भी लड़का अगर छोटा सा भी कमेंट करता है तो तुरंत हम लोग लड़ने लगते हैं.
The movement quickly spread across India. Today, Red Brigade has 4,000 members, including men who back their cause.
देखिए, निश्चित तौर पे महिलाओं के साथ जो ये वायलेंस हो रहा है उसमें पुरुष जल्दी आगे सामने नहीं आ पाते सपोर्ट के लिए, और मैं इस धारणा को बदलना चाहता हूँ, इसलिए मैं इनके साथ हूँ।
The Red Brigade is not the only vigilante group that has emerged in India in recent years. The Pink Sari Gang, headquartered in rural Uttar Pradesh, uses sticks to physically punish wife abusers and rapists. Pink Sari boasts a network of 400,000 women. But in a country where, according to government statistics, a rape is committed every 22 minutes, these vigilante groups are far from adequate in guarding against violent crimes targeted at women. After the Delhi rape incident, which scandalized the country in December 2012, the government has passed new laws with stiffer punishments for rape and ramped up the number of police patrols. But just 3 hours' drive from Delhi, in the village of Bagana, I discovered that this legislation hasn't proved very effective. Here, in March 2014, a gang of men raped 4 girls. The youngest is 13 years old, the oldest 17.
23 मार्च को 7-8 के करीब हम 4 लड़कियां लैट्रिन बाथरूम के लिए गई थी, तभी अचानक से एक सफ़ेद गाड़ी आई। उसमें 5 लड़के थे जिन्होंने हमें ज़बरदस्ती गाड़ी में डाला और कुछ सूंघा दिया। रास्ते में हम 4 के साथ बलात्कार किया।
The girls were from the Dalit caste, also known as the Untouchables. It's India's lowest caste. The girls said the police were reluctant to file a case against the rich landowners whom they alleged carried out the rapes.
पुलिस ने हमारी दरखास्त तो लिखी, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ नहीं किया। वो हम पर दबाव डाल रहे थे, दरखास्त लिख नहीं रहे थे। पुलिस धमका रही थी, डांट रही थी ऐसे।
Incensed by the case, the girls' relatives camped outside the local court for more than 2 months. They say they'll stay put here until they get justice. Local authorities were initially reluctant to let us film. After some negotiations, we managed to speak to the protesters.
उनके लिए हमको भी तो खतरा है ना, मतलब हमारे साथ भी कल को ऐसा हो जाए तो हमें भी तो डर तो है ही, इसीलिए हम यहाँ वहाँ से आए हैं।
यही जो औरतें पर अत्याचार होता है वो उन्हीं लेडीज़ों पर, उन्हीं औरतों पर अत्याचार होता है जो सामाजिक दृष्टि से कमज़ोर हैं, दलित हैं, अनपढ़ हैं, उनके जो है राजनीतिक पहुंच से दूर हैं। उन्हीं लोगों पर ये ऐसा रेप का अटैक होता है, उन्हीं लोगों के साथ ये अत्याचार इस प्रदेश में लगातार होता है।
Police say the 5 rapists have been arrested. But the victims claim that other men were involved in the attack, but they haven't been charged because they are from powerful families. And proving once again that in India, men can rape women with apparent impunity. Just weeks after the Bagana case, 2 girls were hung from a tree after being raped in the state of Uttar Pradesh. A few days later, an Indian woman said she was gang raped by 4 officers at a police station, sparking protests across the country. Because of cases like these and many others, women are taking extreme measures to protect themselves. Seema Kharbanda is armed to kill. She's frustrated with the lack of security for women in her home city of Delhi. So she's decided to take matters into her own hands.
ये गन मेंटेन करना बहुत इजी है। इसको जस्ट खोल लो, उसके अंदर बुलेट्स लोड करो, बंद किया उसके बाद जो हमारे पास का रेंज है उसको हम बड़े आराम से टारगेट को फायर कर सकते हैं।
This is not just any gun. It's pitched as India's first gun custom made for women. The manufacturer is the state-run Indian Ordnance Factory. The production of this gun was fast-tracked after the Delhi rape, which outraged the nation in December 2012. It was one of India's worst cases of violence against women. The name of this gun is Nirbhik, and it's named after the Delhi gang rape victim. She was tortured with an iron bar, thrown from a moving bus, and left for dead. The word Nirbhik in Hindi means fearless. The gun's launch has led Indians to debate whether carrying a gun makes a woman safer. Officials say it will help women defend themselves. Critics say it's an insult to the Delhi rape victim's memory. Seema says the gun is a must, as she can't count on authorities to keep her safe. Her husband, who feels the same way, purchased this gun as a gift.
So what was the reason that you wanted to purchase this gun for your wife?
बिज़नेस के सिलसिले में मुझे बाहर आना जाना पड़ता है, इंडिया से बाहर भी और इंडिया के अंदर भी, तो काफ़ी टाइम मैं बाहर रहता हूँ। तो अगर इनके पास गन होती है तो मुझे ये महसूस होता है भाई ये पीछे से फैमिली सेफ है, सेफ्टी है और ये अपना सेल्फ डिफेंस खुद कर सकते हैं।
मैं भी कॉन्फिडेंस मेरे अंदर भी पैदा होगा। मैं बच्चों के साथ कभी बाहर जाती हूँ, शॉपिंग करने जा रहे हैं, कभी किसी काम से जाते हैं तो थोड़ा सा अपने बैग में हमारे पास कोई वेपन होता है तो हमें थोड़ा सा कॉन्फिडेंस रहता है कि कोई आसपास कोई टीच कर रहा है, कोई कुछ कर रहा है तो उसको हम डरा सकते हैं, उससे हम मुकाबला कर सकते हैं।
The Nirbhik gun has drawn fire from activists. They say that women shouldn't have to arm themselves to compensate for the failure of the police to protect them. But how much of a deterrent can a personal firearm really be? Most public places in India don't allow guns, and most malls, theaters, marketplaces, and offices have metal detectors to enforce this. And perhaps most importantly, the gun costs around $2,000 and most Indian women can't afford it. A group of determined women in rural Gujarat who can't afford guns have come up with a different way of dealing with violent men. The solution is Nari Adalat. The phrase means women's court. This may look like an ordinary village meeting, but I'm actually at a Nari Adalat court hearing. Women who don't want to go to the police or who can't afford lawyers come here to seek justice. To show me firsthand how it works, the Nari Adalat committee has invited me to come along to a hearing. The Nari Adalat is a mobile court, and in many cases, judges go to the homes of the victims to hear the case. Today we're going to the home of Sheetal Nayak, who's been abused by her husband. Domestic violence is the #1 complaint received by the Nari Adalat. The hearing takes place under a nearby tree. The judges are all local women. Some of them have received some basic legal training, others are illiterate, but they are all passionate about justice.
અમે દિનેશને પણ કીધું છે કે હાવ ત્રાસ નહીં આપતો, જો ફરી પાછો ત્રાસ આપશે તો એને કાયદાસરના પગલાં આગળ લઈશું અને પંચનું લખણ પણ થયું છે. આલકીનો પાછો ત્રાસ આપશે તો 50,000 દંડ લઈશું અને કોર્ટમાં કેસ મેકશું. એવી રીતનું લખણ પણ થયું છે અને દિનેશને પણ સમજાવ્યો છે અને શાંતિથી રહેજો. હો
હવે મેં માર ન મારું, હવે હળી મળીને સુખથી કરી ખાશું.
The Nari Adalat judgment isn't legally binding. It's a moral injunction to behave properly, but peer pressure can be a powerful persuasion tool. In most cases, men tried by Nari Adalat haven't reoffended. And those who do face a higher chance of formal prosecution for ignoring the Nari Adalat's verdict.
See, it is not legally binding, it is true, but in the tribal areas, wherever there have been cases which go beyond the Nari Adalat process. In the court, when they file the complaint, they do mention that these decisions were taken, these verdicts were announced, but they have not been followed. Therefore, it becomes even more important for the matter to be filed in the police station or in the court. So there is a reference given to the informal or the traditional alternative justice mechanisms.
In the official courts, a system of bribes can mean cases drag on for years. In the informal Nari Adalat courts, cases are usually resolved within 6 months. The service of the Nari Adalat is free. In the formal legal system, costs would be prohibitive for these women.
If you need a lawyer, and in most cases women who come to the Nari Adalat kind of forums do not have that kind of facility. They don't have information where to go first, and secondly then they do not have resources enough to be able to get their voices heard. The police station environment is also so intimidating. In I think 9 out of 10 cases, women first experience the suspicion from the police itself that you must have certainly done something wrong, therefore you face this kind of a situation.
In 2013, the Nari Adalat in Gujarat heard more than 150 cases, and the same model has been adopted in other Indian states. It's good news because without them, many poor rural women would have no recourse to legal aid. But government action is also urgently needed to improve the formal justice system. Now, India has a new government, and the Prime Minister has vowed zero tolerance for violence against women. What will Modi's administration do? I traveled to New Delhi, India's capital, to look for the answers. India's new Prime Minister Narendra Modi has pledged to empower women. And as a first step, a quarter of his new cabinet are women. It's a move that many of his female supporters cheer. They believe that having more women in power is a first step towards improving their security in the country. But India still falls behind its neighbors Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan when it comes to female representation in parliament. Why has India fallen behind in this aspect? I've come to the capital, Delhi, to find the answers. Behind me is Parliament House, a male-dominated environment for policy making in this country. And despite a lot of attention paid to women's issues during the campaign season, of the 541 newly elected MPs, only 11%, or 62, are women, just marginally higher than the last time. 17 years ago, legislation was introduced here to reserve 1/3 of the seats in Parliament for women. But after many years of debate, the 33% reservation bill still hasn't been passed.
Political parties have blocked it for a long time because they are so male-dominated. They don't want women to contest, so very few seats are given to women. Even in this election, no political party in the country gave more than 12%, 7%, 6% seats for women to contest. That should mean that if it is left to the political parties, they will never ever give women equal leadership possibilities.
But pressure from women voters is mounting, and the new government has been forced to respond.
Not only that Mr. Modi went around the country promising women's security, it is also part of their manifesto that 33% reservation will be passed by the parliament. So it is now incumbent upon them to bring this bill and to pass.
As well as promising to enact the 33% reservation bill, Modi has also declared his government will have a policy of zero tolerance for violence against women. But just days after his inauguration, shocking news came that 2 rape victims were found hanged from a tree. Shortly afterwards, reports emerged that police officers in Uttar Pradesh had gang-raped a woman. Within days of forming the new government, the Modi administration had to confront crowds of protesters outraged by these crimes against women. Adding oil to the fire, a minister in Modi's current government responded to these incidents by saying rapes were accidents. Another minister, also from Modi's party, said rapes were sometimes right, sometimes wrong. Narendra Modi's response? He said that politicians should not carry out psychological analysis of rape, and that security of women should be the topmost priority. Modi did not elaborate on concrete steps to be taken. Activists criticized this statement as ambivalent and demanded stricter laws to protect women from harassment. As the debates rage on in the corridors of power, I contacted the rape victims that I earlier met in Bhagana to see if there's any progress in their case. I discovered that they had brought their case to the center of power, Delhi.
Faced with police inaction at the local level, the girls and their supporters have journeyed to Delhi. They've been camping here for the past 3 months. And with a group like this confronting police every day, their case is now impossible to ignore.
कि हमारे साथ ऐसा हुआ लेकिन हमें इंसाफ कोई नहीं दिलवा रहा।
For Saroj and her extended family, home is now on the side of a road in Delhi. They've set up their beds and their kitchen. They say they won't leave until they get a court hearing.
हमें यहाँ पर कोई पूछने नहीं आता। अगर किसी के पास जाते हैं तो वो टाइम दे देते हैं कि उस तारीख को आना। फिर अगले जाते हैं तो तब आगे बढ़ा देते हैं। हमारी कोई सुनवाई नहीं करता।
Many other Indian women share Saroj's frustration. The average time taken for a rape case to get judgment ranges from 5 to 10 years in India. The new government has pledged more fast-track courts, but there's a huge backlog to clear. There are still 90,000 rape cases pending trial. No one can tell how long these girls and their families will have to wait for justice.
But one thing is for sure, the new government has pledged to protect women and to improve women's rights. And now all eyes are on them to see if they'll fulfill their election promises.